विनोवेशिया कम्युनिटी कार्यक्रम आप तक अब आ रही है बातचीत, जिसमें प्रोफेसर बबोन्स बता रहे हैं द वेपनाइजेशन ऑफ कास्ट इन अमेरिका क्या अर्थ रखता है। सुने उनसे हुई बातचीत का ये अंश। So, before we talk about caste and how you have used the term weaponization of caste in America, let me request you to share your impressions of having been to Bangkok for World Hindu Congress. How was it? What new thing you learned there?
The World Hindu Congress was really a new sort of experience for me as a non-Hindu. I was one of the very few non-Hindus there, obviously, and it was an opportunity to meet especially a lot of religious people. Ordinarily, I meet only lay people of all religions. I don't meet monks or dedicated religious devotees very often. And at the World Hindu Congress, of course, it was perfectly ordinary to have monks walking around, interacting with you. And so sitting down and having several lunches and dinners with people who devote their lives every day to worship really was an eye-opening experience. It humanizes people. For someone like me who's look, frankly, completely atheistic, to have these sorts of conversations is relatively rare. And I think I really learned a lot from it.
Yeah. So now, as you describe yourself as an atheist, which I will not take much of your and my time on that, but I'm just reminded of what Swami Vivekananda said about this, and he said that new religion says atheist is the one who doesn't believe in himself. So that's why you can't be an atheist from Swami Vivekananda's definition. Well, you believe in what you are doing, and there's sincerity of purpose there too. Yeah.
Well, with all respect to Vivekananda, I don't call myself an atheist in the sense of having a positive identity as a sort of atheist believer in atheism. Instead, I describe myself as atheistic, meaning that I don't have any belief in a divinity. People can feel how they want about that. That's simply the person I am.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll keep the rest of conversation on this topic for some other day. But the reason I also wanted to bring it up is when you were in the presence of n number of Hindus who are openly declared Hindus because it is World Hindu Congress, and you were one of the few who were non-Hindus who were participating there. So, was there anything that gave you the feeling that the way these people practice, there is a sense of discrimination against a particular group, or the feeling or the impression that you had in general as an outsider?
There was certainly no sense of exclusivity, and in fact, there was an atmosphere of inclusivity. But that's only to be expected because the groups that were very present there. So the conference, of course, is organized by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the World Hindu Council. It was the two main sectarian sponsors who were there were the Hare Krishnas and the Chinmayanda Mission. And all three of those organizations have spent more than 100 years seeking to break down caste barriers within the Hindu faith. And so that these particular groups would have a very inclusive tone is not at all surprising. Now, I'm not an expert on the Hindu faith. I don't know if there are still today Hindu groups that are exclusive. I really wouldn't know if that were true or not. What I can say is that all of the major mainline Hindu denominations with which I'm familiar, and certainly everyone who was present at the World Hindu Congress, are people who are what we would say in the Western world ecumenical in their approach to the Hindu faith. And beyond that, are broadly accepting of people of other faith, or in my case, of no faith.
So, Professor Babones, principally speaking, when we talked about Swami Vivekananda, he came with Vedantic philosophy to Western world, which is talking about a sense of oneness. and non-duality. Inclusivity is not just an integral part of it, principally speaking, and how it is practiced. Of course, there are multiple variations. This was one of the few occasions where Hindus got consciously together to talk about issues other than devotion. Because generally, like you have heard about Kumbh or other gatherings where it is just pure flow of devotion. Uh, the sense of being aware of what is happening in the world and what is your role as a community, etc. I think they had certain lectures on those issues also. Now, let me come to America and your. I read your paper, though it's not very exhaustive, yet it is in depth and it is to the point, and the way you have seen a big picture of what is the potential intent with which what is happening, and you also talk about how Sikhs, Muslims and Dalits coming together, etc. But before getting into the details, how do you see caste in the context of the community in America? Is there any relevance even to bring that up, considering the number of people whom you may bring in the under the umbrella of being Dalits in America?
I was actually at the World Hindu Congress to speak about caste in America, and people may be interested to hear that, as you suggested, the World Hindu Congress was not primarily about religious issues; it was about Hindus in the world. And so, not only my presentation, but all the presentations I heard were about Hindus living in the larger world, and very often in the Western world, because most of the participants seem to be from the U.S., UK, or the broader diaspora. In the United States, Hindus are a relatively small group, something like 1 to 1.5% of the US population. Yet the issue of caste based discrimination has become nationally prominent. And I think it's telling that that's so because it's unlikely that it's become nationally prominent because it's actually an important social issue. This is actually a very minor issue. We have very few alleged incidents of caste based discrimination. We have every major Hindu organization disclaiming or opposing caste based discrimination in the United States. So it seems to be a non problem. Yet, for a non problem, there's an enormous amount of political energy being directed towards supposedly preventing or prohibiting discrimination based on caste. But in my paper, I make an argument based on all of my own observations that this doesn't seem to be actually intended to prohibit or prevent caste-based discrimination. The politicization of caste seems to be mainly focused on associating caste with the Hindu faith in the broader American mind.